Yeah.
What it is, every revolution or every political movement or any kind of change, and having someone, okay, CIA, which is fucking for you to call me CIA when you know I'm not.
Everything was politicized. It was, oh, this is when we became the left versus the right. But both sides are trash. In COVID,
his own thing. So it seems to be that money's the issue, that like we're using money and that's how politics is being pushed. Because now we've seen what someone does when they use their own money and it doesn't seem to be a solution. So I feel like we take money out of politics, we'll have a much better political system.
Politician, you think they're gonna come out and tell me the truth? They was lying to my mama. They ain't gonna never tell us.
So everybody, we look at certain things just because, oh, this happens in the hood or we see this every day. All the way up. These people were speaking truth. King, we could talk X, we could talk it all. They were speaking truth.
What's going on in anyone's mind, but let's take it as a given that Gray's argument is true, that the argument to not have ID is that it would be discriminatory versus certain socioeconomic brackets or something. It's like
the world's greatest trial run of what people will do and what people won't do. And we are the only country on the planet that really fought against the government. A lot of it,
because you focus on 80-20 issues. I'm looking at the Epstein issue as we have 80% of the information we need to prosecute these people that actually did anything, but you're focusing on the 20% trying to take down Donald Trump, which you're never going to get. So I'm going to keep sitting here with a smug-ass face on every single day.
I'll explain. Good question. I'll give you the answer. The Republican Party constantly talks about transgenders and transgender surgery to minors.
I'm mostly on the left, ideologically, but I don't associate with the Democrats because they're not ideologically on the left. The Democrats are clowns, and they're also losers.
About to be any engaging conversation. It's not about to be any discourse about different political ideologies, what works and what doesn't. If that is the outcome, right? For example, I'm not going to go and just put myself in the middle of a KKK rally.
Verify me. I'm not a fucking Fed. They always do this. I'll say this, right? But they did the same thing to Nick. We've seen the video. They'll call people who are genuine and authentic Feds because
the interesting thing to me is that the ones that claim that they believe the Constitution are now trampling the Constitution. The ones that said they believed in the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, right, are now going against the freedom of speech.
leadership perspective.
Y'all have no plan. They don't ever talk about nothing positive about the Democrat Party. Everything is just anti-Trump. They're not willing to have a conversation. They call us fascists. We willing to have a conversation.
It's surprising because the last time a Democrat held the office of mayor of Miami was back during the era of The Birdcage, which was a great film in the late 1990s, one of my favorites. But more than that, Kate Baldwin, it feels like deja vu all over again. Sarah Seidner is laughing in the back there, I want to note. And I'm coming in from Buffalo, where I was watching the Bills. Therefore, my voice is...
Is that what's going on?
That is what's going on right here.
You can't blame me being Typhoid Mary on this one.
No, I was just really rooting for the Bills. But this was just such a big shift to the Democrats. I mean, Kamala Harris won Miami, but just by a point. There was a huge shift towards Donald Trump. This was in Miami, Joe Biden had carried Miami by nearly 20 points, and Harris only won it by 1. And all of a sudden, look at this. It's a 19-point win for Higgins. That is an 18-point shift in just a year's time. Yeah. And of course, it is just the latest shift that we're seeing. That is what I think is so important going on here. We've seen it in special elections. We saw it in Virginia Gov. We saw it in New Jersey Gov. We have seen it across the political map, whereby over and over and over again, the baseline from 2024, Democrats are consistently outperforming it 10, 15, nearly.
Well, put this into more context of what you're talking about, into kind of the broader trend that we're seeing across the country in races.
Yeah, okay. So I think if you know anything about Miami, you know it's heavily Hispanic, heavily Latino. And what we have seen is that Latinos have absolutely gone up and said, you know what, I don't like what Donald Trump is doing. I mean, just look at Donald Trump's net approval among Latinos. In February, it was minus 2 points. Not too hot to trot, but not that bad either. Look at where it is now. Minus 38 points. That is a shift of 36 points in the wrong direction, the completely wrong direction for Donald Trump. And what the race in Miami illustrates, I was looking at the localities, locality by locality by locality. What you see is these huge shift neighborhoods of Miami against the Republican nominee from the Donald Trump baseline. And so to me, this is an encapsulation of what we see. We saw it in Arizona's 7th congressional district, right? That special election earlier this year. Again, a heavily Hispanic district. What we see is Democrats outperforming that 2024 baseline, which to me is so important because we see these national polls. You wonder, how is this actually going to impact things? And what we see is exactly what we saw last night. The first Democratic mayor of the great city of Miami since the birdcage era.
Since the birdcage era. Put that in a headline. So you have now Miami is going to be run by a Democrat. How many Republicans run big cities in America anymore?
Yeah, this to me is part of a longer, larger arc. And, you know, you just look at this. GOP mayors in the 50 largest cities. In 2017, it was about 14. Now with Higgins coming in, it's 7. It's 7. Donald Trump has been absolute kryptonite to Republicans who want to run major cities in the United States. There are very few. They're endangered species.
That is fascinating, just since 2017, that shift.
Literally Donald Trump kryptonite in big cities. That's what I got to say, Kate Baldwin.
Thank you, Harry Enton.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Disclaimer.
Sarah.
The views and opinions expressed on this panel show are those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this channel, its affiliates, sponsors, or production team. This content is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. We encourage respectful dialogue and critical thinking around the topics discussed.
Described him as one of the most dangerous men on the face of the earth.
Welcome to the Man Cave. Welcome to the Man Cave. I'm Gray Mars.
Ken Billions, what's going on?
I'm 85 Slim.
Mr. Rippy.
I'm Skeptic.
I'm Doc.
And we have a guest, Ratchet Christian. Go ahead, Ratchet Christian.
Hello, I am the Ratchet Christian. I also go by my name, A Smile.
Okay, so Ratchet Christian, since you're our guest, you can go first. Do you feel like, you know, a Democratic mayor winning in Miami is predicting a blue wave in the midterms?
Absolutely. And as I was watching that video, all I could think about was the fact that they did it. You know, this has been the long-term goal for a while. And I think, you know, that factors into what we were seeing with the immigration policies under Biden, how they were wanting to overwhelm our cities with, you know, people from Hispanic countries, Latino countries, so that they would be able to swing the vote this way. And as I was watching that back, I'm like, you know what? They did it regardless of what Trump planned to do when he came into office and how he was going to enforce immigration and all those things. This was the goal all along. And it also made me think about like the Black vote and what that means now too, where it's like the conversation has moved past us. You know, the Democrats don't need the Black vote that much anymore. They have the Hispanic vote and they did that intentionally. And it's going exactly as planned. And all I can think about is, wow, these people are determined and it's working. Look at it.
Skeptic, they're talking about Hispanic vote. Of course, you're a Democrat, but I think you said before that Hispanics weren't going to vote with the Republican Party anymore. Do you feel like that's what's happening?
Yeah, so it's interesting because it tends to be that a lot of immigrants will vote Republican, which is like, interesting. Also, the fact that if you are here under refugee or asylum status, even if you're DACA, you don't have the right to vote. You have to be a citizen in order for you to vote. I want to say that Florida, for the most part, has been conservative, but with all of the things that the Republicans have been doing, the way that they have been handling the deportation of people coming out on the streets, terrorizing families, ripping children away from their mother's arms, I feel like a lot of the Latino community feels like there has to be a stop to this. Whether or not they agree with the left ideologies, they're going to vote left just to prove a point. And I also want to say that Texas is going to swing more towards the left. Same thing. You have a high population of Latinos. Majority of the time, they actually had been voting somewhat, conservative, but because of everything that's going on, the conservatives are giving away the vote. They're kind of forcing the Latino people's hands to vote with the left.
So this is what Trump had to say about black people. He went viral for saying this.
Tell you, black people love Trump. I got the biggest vote. I got the biggest vote with black people. They know a scam better than anybody. They know what it is to be scammed. Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. We did great. Thank you. I like this guy.
So, Ken, was that racist?
No, it's funny. It's not. It's hilarious. Black. It's funny. But I think like when you go to cities, major cities, you're trying to party. Like you're not trying to be conservative when you go to major cities. Like when you go to Miami, you ain't trying to be conservative. You're trying to take your clothes off. You know what I mean? When you go to LA, when you go to certain major cities, especially when you're a tourist, you're trying to take your clothes off. You're trying to party. People have extracurricular activities. I don't expect like major cities to be like very conservative. I expect like the edges to be the rural areas where people are farming, where people are a little more religious. I expect cities to be more secular. You know what I mean? Because you are dealing with a lot of other people from around the world. So it's going to be a mixture of ideologies. But when you go to the edges, the people that live there are from there. When you go to the cities, the people that live there are not from there.
Right. So, Slim, you speak the MAGA language. What did Trump mean by black people know scamming better than anybody? What does that mean?
It means a lot for the simple fact you played a CNN clip, which is the biggest.
Yeah, that CNN poll means a lot too, right?
Yeah, CNN is some bullshit. I don't even know why you even want to put CNN on the panel, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? They're going to always hate Trump. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, Trump is right. There's a lot of things that I've noticed about the Democratic Party that I've been scammed when I was a Democrat. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, it's real shit, man. I mean, Trump is a G, man. That's why I love him for who he is.
For sure. So we'll get to the main topic. This is what Jasmine Crockett's ad looks like.
How about this new one they have? Their new star, Crockett. How about her? She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man. Oh, man. She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
Doc, was that a good ad or was that too much?
Nah, I think that was a great ad, actually. If you're going to keep saying my name, I'm going to use your voice to make me famous. You know what I mean? Nothing else is going to get more attention than, you know what I mean, her using him, the president. He's probably the biggest figure in the country at the moment. If you want to attract attention, you use him to your advantage. If he's going to keep saying your name and keep giving you attention and, shine a light on you, you might as well step into it.
And keep telling the truth. You got to put that in there, too.
So she's running for senator. That's what Trump had to say about it.
Well, she's a low IQ person. I can't imagine she wins. Maybe she'll get the Democrat nomination, but I think it's a gift to Republicans. She's a terrible representative. I watched her for the last 2 years. I can't even believe she's a politician, actually.
Mr. Ripper, do you think that was appropriate for Trump to say for someone running for senator?
Yeah. As much terrible shit that she said about him, that's definitely appropriate. And the thing is, Jasmine Crockett, I met her a few years back when she first got elected to Congress. She did not talk like that. She was articulate. She was smart because she actually come from, private school, lived amongst white people, and all of a sudden you act like you're from the inner city of Detroit or something. And the paneritis is just extremely annoying. It is not working no more. I see so many black people are like, when you look on social media, look inside your little box, you think people support this nonsense, but people are waking up to it. We don't like the pandering anymore, and I'm so disappointed because I actually had respect for her when I met her. I had a lot of respect for her, even though she was a Democrat. But now they are telling her to act like a ghetto hood rat to try to get the black support, and I think that's insulting to black people. That's what makes me so sick. Hillary Clinton, with her keep hot sauce in my purse. Kamala Harris, tomorrow she celebrate Kwanzaa and she wash her greens in the bathtub. Yo, we sick of this stuff, man.
Facts. So this is who she'll possibly be running against if she wins the Democrat primary and goes up against the Republican, Wesley Hunt.
A lot of news. She's a Democrat, represents southeastern part of Dallas, Texas, your home state. She revealed this when she found a job in the legal world. This is how she described it in her own words. I'll go ahead and play it and get your reaction.
When I first became a public defender, I had no criminal defense experience. And I walked in and I told my boss, Charlie, I said, listen, you should hire me. He said, why? I said, because I'm black. Charlie looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, let me tell you something. When I walk in, I'm going to walk in with a level of rapport and understanding that maybe some of my other colleagues will not. Charlie offered me my job, and I worked my butt off, and I worked really, really hard for all of my clients, not just those that look like me. And that is what it looks like to serve.
Maybe in the end she was qualified for that job. What do you think of that story and the way she recalls it?
Well, you can't have it both ways, and Jasmine and I just don't see the world the same way. I don't want to walk in a room and get a job because I'm black. I want to walk in a room and get a job because I'm qualified, because I am educated, because I have hard work, grit, determination, because I believe in this country. That's why I am a United States congressman in a white majority district that President Trump would have won by 20 points, and I just won by 27 points. And the reason is because of this. I am literally living Dr. Martin Luther King's dream by being judged not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. The people in my district don't see color. They see somebody that's going to represent this district to the best of their ability, regardless of what they look like. I never want to be demeaned for what I have done and the sacrifices that I have made for this country just because of the way I look. I want to be hired because of my acumen and my ability, and I'll end with this. I see myself as an American. I'm a proud husband. I am a father. I am a veteran. I am an educated man. I am a follower of Christ, and I'm also a black man. I am very proud of it, but I am all those things before that, because the number one thing for me is being an American, and I love all my fellow Americans regardless of race, religion, color, or creed, and we all should be treated fairly. Nobody wants a job based on the way they look. They want a job based on their abilities.
Wesley Hunt.
Amen.
Woo! He about to mop the floor with her ass. I can't wait for that shit. Oh, love that guy.
Now, you were saying something, right? How did you feel about what he said?
This nigga look like the black Buzz Lightyear. That's first and foremost. And I think she a little off base by using, you know what I'm saying, her ethnicity to say, you know, that's why she deserve a job. But I think you realize that he's someone. I think he's super out of touch with being black as well. So I don't think he's actually qualified to comment on it. Like, he's saying how he's in this white majority district, but I can tell from his talk and his demeanor and the way that he presents himself to the world that black isn't one of the highest priorities for him, which it, you know, and that's fine, but don't use that as the crux of your argument with someone else. Oh, and I'm all these things and then I'm black too. Like, bro, we don't want to see you tap dance for white folks and then come over here and tell us how black you are. You know what I'm saying? Just tap dance and get off the stage, my nigga.
Well, I'm gonna get the Trump voters to comment on this, because this is what Jasmine Crockett had to say to Trump voters.
Voters who previously voted for Trump, particularly given that you have been an outspoken critic and he has inserted himself. Just take your campaign video as is. He has inserted himself at every turn when it comes to your commentary. How will you convert those who are supportive of him to voters for you?
Yeah, I don't know that we'll necessarily convert. That's not our goal.
Do you need to?
Our goal is to definitely talk to
None
people.
of us.
No, we don't. We don't need to. Our goal is to make sure that we can engage people that historically have not been talked to, because there's so many people that get ignored, specifically in the state of Texas. Listen, the state of Texas is 61% people of color. We have a lot of good folk that we can talk to. We know that when Beto came really close, Beto, who is a progressive, we know that he got 65% of the Latino vote. So what did they do after that? They specifically went after Latinos. We know that he got close to 90% or right there at 90% of the African American vote. So honestly, what we need to do is start talking to the vast majority of Texas. I think my message is very much a mainstream message. I don't know who disagrees with the fact that affordability is a real thing, except for the president, who says it's a Democratic hoax. But when somebody goes to the grocery store nowadays, whether it's in East Texas or whether it's right here in Dallas, Texas, or whether it's in Austin or West Texas, let me tell you, they are looking at those grocery prices and they are thinking we deserve better. Knowing that we do the amount of trade that we do in the state of Texas, yet right now there are these unwarranted tariff wars that is directly impacting us, knowing that we do agriculture big in Texas. We do everything bigger in Texas, but we do ag big, and understanding that we are hitting record-breaking bankruptcy filings by our farmers. Listen, my message is real simple. I'm looking out for you, your survival, and the survival of your kids as it relates to affordability, being able to actually go and access health care, being able to send your child to school, being able to afford a roof over your head. If that's not, what Trump supporters want, then fine. Then they absolutely won't listen to me. But I'm here for the everyday person, the person that's not the billionaire on the list that Trump has decided to take care of, but the people that he left sitting out in the cold, just like he did when he decided to be sworn in, and he decided that Inauguration Day he would have it inside while so many of his loyal supporters were outside.
Mr. Rippey, how do you feel about what she said?
I feel it's the same typical Democrat talking points, man. The shit is old. All these promises they try to make it, and once it comes down to business, nothing ever happens. The reason for inflation is because of the past 4 years of our government spending. Government spending is what causes inflation. Now, when she talks about how to get Trump supporters, it's not going to happen. I've never ever met a black Democrat that was ever once a Republican, just like I've never met a black Republican that was not once a Democrat. Once you see the Republican side, because we were all Democrats at some point, you are not going back, and there's no way possible you cannot find a black Republican or somebody who switched from Democrat to Republican that's going to go back to vote Democrat. I promise it will never ever happen. We see the light. Even if we don't like Trump anymore, we still is not going to go be supporting the Democrat slave plantation anymore. We're done with all that nonsense. So all the bullshit that she's saying, well, it's for the birds, man.
So wait, so real quick though, so the Republicans, that's not a plantation either, though. They're not. One is a plantation, the other is not. Or are they both plantations?
The Democrat Party is much more of a plantation. Like every bit of oppression that black people have ever been through has been signed into law by the Democrat plantation, the Democrat Party. They were the party that was for slavery, the party that founded KK. Now they're the party that created crime bills that caused mass incarceration of black and brown people, and they also the party that opposed school choice, and they also pandered to black people. And they say you have to base every decision based on your identity, the color of your skin, or your gender. And they say there's no reason to thrive. To stay connected to us because we're gonna create a welfare state for y'all. And LBJ said it best. He said, well, I'm not gonna say best, but he said it. He said, I'm gonna have these niggas voting Democrat for the next 200 years once we get them a government assistance. We rely on the government. We need less government because we're actually thriving prior.
But is it a plantation though? So is it just more so one niggas get whooped on and then the other ones is a little more looser? So one is I just want to be clear.
I would say the Republicans focus.
Can I jump in real quick? Can I jump in? So I'm West African, right? I was born in Sierra Leone. I grew up mostly, like most of my life has been in America. Like I'm a first generation immigrant. I was raised by a Black woman through the foster care system. So it's like I'm African. I know that side of myself, but I was raised by a Black woman. So I get to see these two different worlds. And it's like sometimes the way that we speak to each other, like we're having an intelligent conversation and we're relating it back to the plantation. You know what I mean? We have a respectable Black man like Senator Wesley who's talking about his experience and not wanting to prioritize his race, and he's seen as like tap dancing and being a coon. It's like the respect has to start with each other. Even if we don't agree with one another, as Black people, we always say we're not a monolith. We're not a monolith. Well, we only respect Blackness in one form. You know, if Blackness doesn't look like what we think it should look, if it doesn't look like a Jasmine Crockett, then it doesn't qualify. So we're demanding respect from all these people. Yet when we're having these types of conversations, we won't give it to each other. We're not talking about plantations. We're talking about politics. And so to like even go at it with fair. And before we move on from Jasmine Crockett's ad, as a Black woman, it did not speak to me. I'm a registered independent. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I once was a Democrat. But my whole thing is I'm going to vote for who's ever making the most sense at the time. I'm not married to any particular party because neither one of them tend to deserve our vote most of the time. And so with Jasmine Crockett's ad, all I could think about was Trump Drageman syndrome. She doesn't have to give policy. She doesn't have to give promises. She's giving you what Trump said about her. What does that have to do with anything? Exactly. And I feel like the bar is so low for Democrats that that's enough. All they have to hear is Trump and that she doesn't like Trump. And that's all that they need to run to the polls and vote for her. And as an intelligent person, I'm like, that's disrespectful. I don't need, you know, the click words. Okay, Trump says something bad about you. What does that have to do with your policy? Why is this an ad? But it's going to work because people don't need much more than that. And for me, I just think it's that type of how they campaign to people of color, how they campaign to people in general. It's just an insult to our intelligence, and how we speak to each other is an insult to our intelligence. And I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. As a Black woman, Jasmine Crockett has never said anything that moved me in particular. Great hair, beautiful, feisty, love her, but hasn't said anything that would make me want to run to the polls and vote for her.
We're on record, Christian. I want to play something because you led me into the next topic. And it's about her being Black.
First of all, it's good to see you in the new year. You know, no one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress. It's just not what my plan was. But what I've always decided is that I would step up when there was a need. Listen, he up there, he's hearing all kinds of nonsense and bullshit. Let me just be real. And we weren't gonna sit for that shit. We wouldn't, you know. But when she called me and said, I think it's time for me to retire, and you're the one that I believe should take my seat, I really was kind of caught off guard. I didn't anticipate that. If anyone knows anything about the Congresswoman, they know. We showed up, and if he had some sense, then maybe we would have been about that life. But y'all know he ain't got no sense. So please give some love. This took a little bit of coordinating to do, for sure. We got some cool shirts. You know, the congressional seat is over 4 times as large as my House seat. And I was just starting to get into the rhythm of doing constituent services and things like that. We got Madam Williams, who just happens to have the honorary seat. It's not even honorary because she's holding it down, y'all. But the legend himself, John Lewis, that is the seat in which she currently serves. So she honored his legacy. This is the message that she wanted to send today.
Skeptic, not to put you on the spot, but
come on.
Is Jasmine Crockett faking? Does she have to pretend to be ghetto?
Wow. It's code switching. Like
right, exactly.
all of my husband's family is Black, and they're pastors, and we're in church and we speak a certain way. They're not going to speak like that at home. So like, yes, everybody does that. I'm Latina. When I go around my people, my husband laughs at me because he's like, you even pronounce your words like with the accent in Spanish. Yeah, because my family only speaks Spanish. So why I'm not going to come in and just speak to them in English like I do, like proper English. We do that. I wanted to make a couple of comments on some things because I didn't want to interrupt anybody. Actually, inflation was caused by Trump's first when he was first in office, because they put money out, the stimulus checks out into the economy. And so when you put money, that you print money, which is called quantitative easing, into an economy without it coming out of actually being produced from the buys of the supplies, right? The supply chain, you cause inflation. So we know for a fact that inflation has a direct correlation to what the Trump administration did. Want to say that just to kind of like put that out there, because to say that Biden caused inflation is just factually untrue. If
He
you
did.
look
What he
at
said is
the,
not true.
if you look at, if
Yeah,
again,
that's not true. What you just
okay,
said
but
is not true.
I
She let y'all
didn't,
talk. She let y'all
I didn't
talk.
interrupt.
Yeah,
I
one
waited.
second.
No, go
I
ahead.
waited
You're
for my
right.
turn.
You're right.
I
I'm
waited for
sorry,
my turn.
Skeptic. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's fine. If you look at the policies that Joe Biden passed during his administration, which was the Science and Chips Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, you can see a an exact date where he implemented it, which was in 2022, and you see inflation hit a peak and then come down because the Chips and Science Act and the Inflation Reduction Act literally had a direct impact on inflation. The way that they did it was by stimulating other nations to come and, put money into infrastructure, which we literally see that with the microchips. We see that with literal other nations saying, you know what, because there's a tax, because there's an incentive, is what it's called. We're going to go in and we're going to actually put money into building infrastructure in America. I also want to say racism runs in both parts of political parties, the Democrat and the Republicans, but it's only one political party that had a Southern strategy. It's Lee Atwater that worked for the Republican movement that literally said, we used to be able to say the N word. We used to be able to call people certain names and slurs. Now we have to say, I'm going to give you a tax cut. Now we have to say, vote for me so that I can implement stricter laws on crime. Now we can say, I'm going to come out here and work on the busing system. Now we have to use these dog whistles. The only group of people that continuously does this, the only group of people that have tried to remove Black veterans from websites have been the Republicans, have been the conservative. The only people that have put Confederate generals back on military bases have been the conservatives. So like, miss me with the whole, the Democrats are this, whatever, and that. The Democrats are the ones that have a progressive view on the world, and I'm going to keep on voting Democrat because it benefits me for now.
That's
Before
good.
you guys respond, I want to let Slim get his chance. So I'm going to play this video. Slim can respond to it.
More and more every day, I'm starting to have a real disdain for Jasmine Crockett. She is such an insult to all educated Black women in America. She perpetuates the stereotype of a ghetto Black hood woman, something she is not. Let me tell you something. Jasmine Crockett went to private school, which ultimately means that her parents, her two-parent household, took the time to invest into her education, which ultimately means by geographical fact that your private school was probably somewhere in the suburbs, which 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty sure she didn't even grow up in the hood. And as a matter of fact, she went to one of the best day schools in St. Louis, actually out of the entire country. Jasmine Crockett has had more privilege than any Black American that I can ever think of. She legit grew up in the suburbs. Mansions. Her tuition alone, shit, per semester or whatever, cost well over $30,000. So why the act? It's a literal case of code switching. Now, I get it. I do a little bit of code switching myself, but see, it's a time and a place for everything. See, all that popping of the neck and batting them long eyelashes, I don't know what this rhetoric that she's trying to perpetuate, I don't know who she's trying to give it to. Being all loud and country, like, are you trying to, I don't know if you're trying to relate to like your constituents, your Black constituents there. I don't know what this is all about, but it's a complete disgrace for you to sit up here and perpetuate and make yourself seem lower class by acting and talking the way that you do.
Wow.
Because you wasn't brought up to be that way.
Exactly.
Your
The
parents
racism of the
invested in you,
Democrats.
and
Wow.
this is the way that you return the favor by acting ghetto. See, Jasmine Crockett is the reason why Black people that live in the hood, such as me, have a hard time, it being accepted that the fact that I'm a real educated Black person that live in the hood, because I'm expected to talk ghetto. And here she is, choosing to cosplay. See, that's why Jasmine Crockett is relatable to the nigga population. Niggas love Jasmine Crockett. Why? Because she's relatable. She's also a Democrat. And what is the makeup of the Democratic Party? A whole lot of niggatry. She's trying to relate to her audience. Meanwhile, I see through all of it. So while she's trying to blame Trump for everything, calling him a thug and etc., her district actually sucks. That's where the focus needs.
Slim, you always say racism doesn't exist. So if racism doesn't exist, why does Jasmine Crockett have to pretend to be black?
Well, at the end of the day, I'm never going to say it doesn't exist. What I'm going to say, it doesn't affect me in my life. Okay, so the whole switching code thing, I do that myself when it comes to, meetings and things like that. But at the same time, I don't like it. I like to be more real. So Jasmine Crockett, she just got the TDS checks going on. And I know Rippy and a young lady here is going to cook on that whole stimulus situation, because to be G with you, Skeptic, you was off on that 100%. It ain't have nothing to do with what you're stating. It had a lot to do with the COVID scenario. It had a lot to do with the illegal immigrants, the money that was going to them.
Exactly.
I'm going to digress right there, because I think Rippy want to address that, because he did cut off in the middle of the speech. So I'm going to chill.
No, I don't say I don't want to address that, but because we could talk about that forever, man. My degrees, I'm in finance. That's the business that I'm in. So quantitative easing is something that I train people on all the time. But I just want to talk about this code switching thing. Just give me like 10 seconds. Code switching is what I do. Like if I'm talking to my brother, I'm like, yo, what's good, my nigga, stuff like that. But if I ever get on, if y'all ever see me on like Newsmax or Fox News or something like that, I'm talking completely different, because my mom always said, do not talk like a damn fool in front of people. That's code switching. Code switching is me at home. Now she's pretending like she's going the opposite direction though. You don't really talk like that, so start talking like yourself. Now you code switching and act like a ghetto ass nigga. And that shit ain't right. That's what I don't appreciate. So I don't think that's code switching that she doing, except for code switching the opposite direction.
But hold on, time out though. So Donald Trump has The Art of the Deal. Donald Trump has books on how to get rich, right? When you look at old interviews of Trump when he used to be on Oprah, when you used to hear Trump talk about real estate deals, he does not sound how he sounds now. He sounds like a poor Arkansas white boy. So when he's speaking, he is not speaking the way he used to speak. He is speaking a poor white language. That is not how he used to sound. And I got his books, right? I grew up with Trump. I'm 41 years old. He ain't never sound like that. He sounded like a 1% man. Now he sounds like a poor Texas, poor Arkansas, poor Alabama white boy. So if Jasmine Crockett can be held to that standard of code switching, Trump is appealing to his base too. He's appealing to poor white Appalachian boys.
Can I say something? Go ahead.
Ratchet Christian to respond and Doc in this, but this is the music video that she dropped. Y'all can tell us what y'all think.
Never scared and she ain't never been. Who else willing to go toe to toe against the president? I can't wrap my head around someone who votes Republican. She advocate for feeding kids, they protect the ones touching them. Trump invading his own country with an army, what a joke. We remember Pearl Harbor by illegally bombing boats. What y'all thought we wasn't gonna do nothing but they think again. They only trying to scare her out of running cause they think she win. Listen, thought I told y'all we ain't never scared. Now look who name on the docket. Got 2 words for every racist bigot living, Jasmine Crockett. Everyone in MAGA isn't racist. Yeah, that might be true, but in all of history, I never seen a Nazi flag be blue. So which side you wanna choose? Me, I hope my money goes to the side that isn't trying to say affordabilities. I hope she stand on business, all 10 toes. Texas tough, don't need no more bad built, bleach, blonde, butch bodies moving forward.
That's a TikTok, isn't it?
Ratchet Christian, you're an entertainer. Was that a good song?
I'm like, at this point, you're trying to rage bait me because what? At this point, man, this has got to be a setup that Todd set up, because I'm just like,
that was crazy.
Honestly, it's
that was crazy.
It's sad that it's like we've kind of voiced as a Black community, we've voiced our concerns with how they campaign to us, and it doesn't change. So that tells me that they're not campaigning to us. They don't care. I think Jasmine Crockett is campaigning for TikTok. You know, she's after the TikTok generation. She's no longer speaking to us. She's not speaking to my age group. She doesn't care to speak to Republicans or people who voted MAGA. And for me, it's really disheartening because is that tribalism that's really dividing the country. She wants people on her side. And I want somebody who doesn't see sides. You know, I want somebody who sees all Americans and wants to bring us together and how can we work this out. But she continues with the villainization of people who voted for MAGA as though we're not American citizens as well. And it's heartbreaking, you know, and we've talked a lot about code switching. And for me, what I'm hearing is not code switching. It's a matter of professionalism. At the end of the day, she's at work. You can talk how you want to at home with your girlfriends. When you're on the public stage, this is your job. You are at work, so there is a certain level of professionalism that's expected. You know, just like if I'm interviewing to be a teacher, if I'm interviewing to work at Wendy's, I'm not talking to them like how I talk to my best friend, because there's a certain level of professionalism. So how much more when you're running for public office, you know? So I think that's getting lost a lot in translation. And Skeptic, I just wanted to address what you had said earlier. This is by no means no personal attack to you, but this is what I see a lot when Democrats speak to me personally as a Black woman who voted for Donald Trump. I'm always being reminded of the fact that, oh, remember who the racists are. Remember that, you know, this person took this from Black veterans, and then they did this to Black people, and they did this to Black people. It's like, okay, remind me how oppressed I am as a Black person. I forgot. You know what I mean? It's like I never forget, but it does not stop me. As somebody who's had to earn my right to be a citizen, I know what it's like to not be one. And so I don't take it for granted. And yes, racism does exist in the world. I face it every day of my life, but it's never stopped me from being college educated, hasn't stopped me from building a good life out here. Racism is real, but it doesn't have to stop you. And I don't need to be reminded of that every time I go and cast my ballot. It's disrespectful and it's unnecessary.
So we got a super chat from ZZ Lion Dad. I'll read it and you go Skeptic. Lion Dad 8856. I'm not a fan of Jasmine. The Democrats, Republicans are not the answer. Black liberation media, y'all need some real political education. PE. Sure, that's what we do every night, Lion. But go ahead, Skeptic.
Yeah, my daughter is a Black woman, and my family, the family that I live around since I was 17, is a Black family. So I will say this: any political party that's going to push forward racism and is literally going to take away the credit for Black veterans, which, you know, the grandfather of my husband's grandfather, who was the first Black engineer in this area, is a Black, veteran. Anyone that's going to do that to desecrate the sacrifice that the Black community has done, I will always stand against it. I'm being reminded of something that a nation is currently doing. I'm not doing it. I'm just putting it out there that that's what they're doing. And I wanted to ask Mr. Kirby, because actually all of my career have worked in finance. So are you telling me that quantitative easing or the printing of the electronic means of them pushing money into a system without it coming?
That causes inflation.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify on that.
I'm not denying that.
And what about tariffs? Would you say, being that you know about economics, we can speak a little bit on this also, there is a direct correlation between placing a tariff, which is known as a tax, on a product and the price of that product going up, correct?
In theory. We just don't know what's going to happen, though. What we do know is what's
Hold on, guys. I want to get Doc in.
All right, sorry. Go ahead. We're getting off topic.
Too far off topic. So this is what Jasmine Crockett had to say about crime.
Understood what was kind of pushing them there. And so I do want people to know that just because someone has committed a crime, it doesn't make them a criminal. That is completely different. Being a criminal is more so about your mindset. Committing a crime can come for a lot of different reasons.
Doc, you're an activist for people that have committed crimes. How do you feel about what she said about it being a mindset?
I think that's correct. I don't think committing a crime makes you a criminal. I don't think there's anybody on this panel who can't say they haven't committed a crime. You just don't know all of the crimes. In Georgia, spitting on the sidewalk is a crime still. It's legally still a crime. You can commit a crime. So committing a crime doesn't make you a criminal. I just wish that she would have put this type of energy into when she was in the public defender's office or when she was in that legal system before, and push that agenda before she was running for office. Seems like when people run for office, they push these ideals, these agendas, but that's something you could have pushed before and, push for reform before you ran for office and helped, people who may have made mistakes. Some people are making mistakes. Some people, the recidivism rate will show you who's a criminal. You know what I mean? These people who are going to constantly offend, but there are people who make mistakes. And I think she could have did a lot of good, as well as like Kamala when she was doing that same job. I think she could have done a lot of good, for people if she had that mindset then. But I think they don't realize at that time that they're going to stand on this stage in front of these people and have to feed them these type of ideals. So I wish they just had it before. It's good to get it at some point, but I just wish they had it before. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna play this clip about her protecting criminals, and then Ken, I'm gonna get you to respond to this one.
Okay. This is a state where President Trump won by 14 points. She's saying she doesn't need Trump voters for her to win this. Yes, she does. Listen, you know she can't win. I know she can't win, and she does apparently too. Now, let me tell you, Sean, if Texans support one thing, it's law and order. And listen, this is probably the most pro-criminal candidate Democrats could have possibly found. This is somebody who has supported the defund the police movement, somebody who has said on record that just because you commit a crime doesn't mean that you're a criminal. This is somebody who has said on record that just because somebody crosses our border illegally, that is not a crime. Texans want somebody representing them who's going to stand for law and order, and that is certainly not Jasmine Crockett.
Ken, do we need more law and order in the United States?
No. How do we apply the law and order to the people that make the law and order, right? But my thing is like with the criminal thing, all crime is not created equal, right? So I was very criminal minded when it came to money, right? Trying to get some money. Most criminals I know was trying to get some money. Now there's some people that committed violent acts, but the majority of people that I know was trying to get some money, whether that was white collar or whether that was hustling. Now, in terms of like crimes against people, like when you're trying to get some money, you committing crimes against the state, right? So that's fictitious. So harming children, rape, things like that, putting your hands on people, that's not the same as a person that's a criminal trying to get some money because you starving and you hustling and stuff like that. So no, we don't need more law and order. We need more economic education. So those that go down a life of crime for some money can know how to make legal money. The majority of the poor don't know how to make legal money outside of being working poor. So they're going to constantly be in that cycle until they die. The majority of people on the lower class don't know how to turn a dollar over unless it's legal.
Okay, so we talked a lot about minorities being Republicans.
Ask you about a quote that you've made that has some Democrats worried about your ability to win statewide. In a December 2024 Vanity Fair profile, you talked about, quote, and I'm going to read a lot of the quote just to put it in the context, quote, all the complexities within the Latino community. The immigration thing has always been something that has perplexed me about this community. It's basically like, I fought to get here, but I left y'all where I left y'all, and I want no more y'all to come here. If I wanted to be with y'all, I would stay with y'all, but I don't want y'all coming to my new home. It almost reminds me of what people would talk about when they would talk about kind of like slave mentality and the hate that some slaves would have for themselves. It's almost like a slave mentality that they have. Now, about the time that was published last year, around 1 million Latino voters in Texas were voting for Trump. Do they all have slave mentality?
No, and that's not what that said at all, to be clear. It did not say that every Latino has that type of mentality.
No, but the ones that vote for people who believe in strong or Trump's immigration policies.
So I don't believe that the people that voted for Trump believe in what they're actually getting.
So, Ratchet Christian, you were speaking on this. So basically, them saying it's a slave mentality. I think she was talking about Hispanics in that situation, but I think it's directed towards blacks as well as voting for Republicans. Do you feel like there's any truth to that?
No, I don't feel like there's any truth to that at all. I feel like there's so many ways, that you could go with that. But there was something that Ken said just a little while ago before he had played the clip about, people who were working, wanting to get like $1, and sometimes it can lead to like criminality and all those things. I think that's where like my experience and having been an immigrant comes in because you see people who come to this country with nothing, and by the time they leave this earth, they have built businesses to give to their kids. You know, you see the Chinese come here, they'll rent a 1-bedroom apartment, move all of their relatives in, and before you know it, they're going to work and buy up the whole block. And I think it's because when you're born in America, you have this mentality and all the things that you're taught and how it's being into you, versus when you're a foreigner, you come here, you see nothing but opportunity because you know a world outside of this. You know what I mean? So there are options in a world where it feels like there isn't any. You could be like, I'm hungry, let me go rob somebody. Whereas the immigrant knows that in their country, if they were hungry, they would go on the street and try to sell some water, try to sell some juice, like there's always options. And I feel like sometimes in this country, we have this rhetoric of like, there isn't, you know? And so with what you were saying about having like the slave mentality, I do think that a lot of what goes on here in this country is mental, you know, is how people are indoctrinated from school through culture all the way, you know, into adulthood. Like you are who you think you are, and you will do you will do what you think you can do in this world. So yeah, when it comes to her referring to her Latino voters as having like a slave mentality, it's just a bunch of name calling, you know what I mean? A lot of policing. It's thought policing, really. It's thought policing at its finest, and a lot of that goes on here, and I've never agreed with it, no matter who does it. We're all free people. We should be able to think how we want to, vote how we want to, without losing friends, without losing jobs, without losing credibility. And as adults, I feel like we should be able to do that, whether you're Latino or Black. Like we hold each other to these standards that if you voted this way or you vote that way, I don't like you as a person. And I think it's stupid. I think it's ignorant. And I feel like people are in mental prisons, and then they try to enforce that onto other people as well. And again, that goes back to me being an independent. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm going to vote for whoever's making the most sense because I'm free and I can do that.
My only pushback to that is real quick that Black Americans learn a lot of the gangster behavior from immigrants, from Italians, from Black Americans learned a lot of the criminality from immigrants. The mob were immigrants. In Miami, the people moving the dope are immigrants, right? Here in Phoenix, Arizona, it's immigrants, right? So a lot of the behavior and how we was getting money and stuff like that, we learned it from immigrants. In the 80s, the #1 movie in urban America was based on an immigrant, which was Tony Montana, a guy from Cuba, right? So that's my only pushback to that. But because in the early 19th century, when you see Black Americans with suits and stuff like that, before they started number running and all that, they were square, right? Black Americans begin to go in the underworld because immigrants started coming around Black Americans and showing them the hustle and showing them how to grind on certain things and get money. So that's my only pushback in terms of what you're talking about with the immigrant mindset. Our biggest gangsters in America ain't even from here.
Here's the thing though, I agree with you. So it's a yes and. I do agree that, you know, the criminality culture has been pushed on Black people. That's not who we were in the 60s and the 70s. We were, and I can't say were because we still are, you know, had strong family units. We had strong leaders, good schools, all the things that white America allowed us to have, we did. Now the criminality aspect came in and has been pushed on Black people through music, through culture, through movies that we don't own. So they created the image of a Black people. We weren't in control of our own image in media. And that's what's pushed on us. And we can have a conversation about who owns that and who created the Black image that we follow, because it most certainly is not us. So it's a yes and. But I don't know if we had time for that conversation.
Oh,
when we talking about the Black families in the 60s and 70s and how it changed, don't forget how the government disenfranchised Black Americans through the drug, through bringing the drugs in our communities and the killing of these fathers and the breaking up of these families. That's the government. So don't say that, oh, it changed because of the thought process of Black people. Black people were disenfranchised by the American government. And that's a fact. So we can't just say that. Also, I think it's like when we say when we're talking and we're talking about politics and we can't think about plantations and stuff like. I live in the South. They still hang niggas down here. They still got plantations right there down the street. Ahmaud Arbery still got shot. My grandma still points you to the store. She had to go to the back of to buy her dresses during segregation. So it's a little bit different for me because, you know, I ain't got here, 20 years ago. My grandma from around here. You know what I'm saying? They still burying with our last name out here for 150, 200 years ago, 300 years ago. We could still go back and look it up. So it's a hard thing to say when we don't talk about that, when you're raised up in that and you don't always get the image until you know better. Like you're raised up in that culture forever. Black people were raised up in this culture forever. And that's just the how it is when people grew up as sharecroppers, never left the South, never left a 100-mile radius. It's hard for people to realize and fathom that.
Skeptic, did you want to respond? Because they were talking about Hispanics having the slave mentality.
Yeah, like I said, I won't say the majority because it's not the majority, but a lot of immigrants will vote conservative, which is mind blowing to me. If you are a Latino and you voted this way, I think you either are fourth, fifth generation American, which means you're YT, you have assimilated to whiteness, or you really hate your family because you're not going to tell me you're a descendant of an immigrant and everybody did it correctly. Like, I'm sorry, but I grew up in the immigrant community and I know how it is. Even it's something that's unspoken. You go out with friends, you don't know. That might be your friend from a long time and you just don't know. You don't know if he was brought here when he was 3 years old. You don't know people's background. So in the Latino community and the immigrant community, I think it's really sad. You see the Somalians, how they voted for this man, and then he turns around and says they came from hell. And if he could, he would get rid of them and turn that state, Minnesota, against them when they make up 1.12% of the population. So if you are an immigrant and you voted conservative, you kind of getting slapped in the face for it, you know. And I will say what Doc just said. That's the same. My mother-in-law went through desegregation. She told us the stories. My uncle, like, he will tell you how it was growing up. He got in multiple fights because they desegregated their school when they were like in, I don't know what grade, and they would fight. They in the bus, like it was a big deal. So like people try to act like this was a long time ago, but if you live in the South, which I live in the South, yeah, you hear the stories from grandma and grandpa. You've got uncles and aunties that are real light-skinned, and like, you know what I mean? It's just a thing that is in the culture. If you know, you know. And it's like, yeah, racism to me is a big red flag, and I don't want to impose that for it to continue in this nation and for my generations to come to have to deal with that again and again and again.
So this is the man cave. So we're gonna cover one man cave topic. This will be our last topic of the day. I want you guys to let me know how y'all feel about this.
Also had some other press with the 65-year-old man.
First of all, I know this guy, but I didn't know this guy in that capacity, like with my kid, or that you were even dating my kid, or even I know this guy growing up myself. I don't know, I don't want to get into troubles legally, but I think his reputation probably precedes him. So I was learning some of these things as I went along too.
Were you like, what the hell are you doing? Tayoki, or no?
I was, but I didn't say it in that way because it was this fast that it blew up to be so much. And so then you can't be the mom that's like, what the hell are you doing? But that definitely was the thing. But it went from 0 to 100 really quick. And I was like, Yoki, I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this was a thing. I found out when the world found out. But I do think in general of those kind of things, I do think it's predatorial. We said all of that to get to what Kimura thinks about it. I think that's predatorial and kind of crazy.
Slim, is he being unfairly judged? A 65-year-old with young Kimura Lee Simmons' daughter. You muted.
It's funny. I had this discussion with my daughter, man. And how old is her daughter?
I think in her 20s.
In her 20s, she grown, right? At the end of the day, hey, the 65-year-old man is living his life. That girl knows what she's doing. I'm sure there's an agenda behind it. I don't believe it's love, as they call it. But yeah, man, I see that a lot. A lot of young ladies with older men. And that's because these boys are being raised as boys. There's really no more men out here. So these women got to do what they got to do, especially when they realize what's real.
Mr. Rippey, what about you? I'm going to look at the daughter age.
Man, like, I agree. I mean, I don't know what it could be, but it's definitely something behind it. I don't know who this guy is. Who is he? Is he some type of rich executive or something? Because I know
This is Russell Simmons' daughter that was doing this. She's 20.
But who's the guy?
I don't know who he is, but I think he's rich.
Yeah, he's on his way out too. She's smart.
Hey, yo, I know a lot of rich old white guys that date a bunch of 20-year-olds too. Just like, it is. I don't condone it, but it is what it is.
I'm gonna go to all the guys and have the girls answer last. Go ahead, Doc.
I think it's weird for sure. Like I didn't already spoke on this before. I think there's like a certain age gap where like it's okay, but that's kind of weird. I think maybe if she was 30 or 40 or something like that,
right.
she was in her, she had more life experience. I would think it was okay. It's not illegal, so he could do whatever he wants. And then most importantly, your mom saying she know the guy and she know him in the same context. Your daughter just growing up to do what she knows she's seen growing up. You know what I'm saying? So your mama just looking in the mirror at herself and she don't like it. But this is probably what she looked like as a 20-year-old girl running around with these 65-year-old men trying to get a bag. So daughter just coming up. She's seen how moms came up. She probably just trying to get the same come up. So
Ken, what about you?
Never have to.
If my daughter was a naive girl, if my daughter was a girl that can be finessed, if I just seen that my daughter didn't have it all upstairs in terms of how fast she was in the game, I would have a problem with this. But every parent knows their child. Now, if I catch wind and my daughter is moving and shaking, my daughter's in club, she's doing that and this, that, and the third, I'm a different kind of dude. So I'm going to instruct my daughter how to go deep in his pockets. I'm going to instruct my daughter how to work this nigga. Oh, we gonna Anna Nicole Smith his wallet. Right? Now look, mind you, I gave you both. If my daughter is young and naive, right? Because if she down with the game, it don't matter how much I chastise her. I'm not gonna lose my baby, right? And I gotta be the person that she's coming to talk to. Now, what kind of daughter do I have? That's what this is about. What kind of daughter do I have? And I'm not going to allow my rule on how I want her to be to have us separate. So if my daughter is down with the game, then we're going to really play the game. And I'm going to have her catch a lick to the point where she never got to do that again. Get on that life insurance policy.
I don't think y'all answer is going to be any crazier than Ken, but let's see what the ladies got to say about this. Ratchet Christian, what do you think?
I don't think it's up to us to police what two adults do. There's no crime being committed. She's an adult. He's an adult. Clearly, she's not in it for the money because she's wealthy. She comes from a wealthy family. Her mom has money. Her dad has money. She's not in want. She's not in need. So that just happens to be where her attraction lies. I could go toe to toe with daddy issues with the best of them. That's how hers appear. And if she wants to date an older man, these are two adults doing what two adults do. Is it weird? Yes. Is it gross? Yes. Is it illegal? No. And as long as there's no crime being committed, I don't see anything wrong with it. Hey, she likes old men. Old men are into, younger girls that are legal. Whatever.
Right.
That are legal. That's it. As long as she's above 18, she's a woman. She can do whatever it is that she wants. Like, people are into what they're into, and so that's what she's into.
So, Skeptic, this was her mother being interviewed. So how does a mother supposed to feel about this situation?
Doc makes a good Doc. You kind of threw me for a loop there. I feel like Doc makes a good point here. I don't know if maybe her daughter, it's like between two thought process. I feel like maybe she's used to one way of living and maybe the boys her age can't provide that for her. Maybe this is how this is what she's used to. She's used to being treated a certain way. I know there are some people that grow up kind of better off and they have a really hard time dating because like when you're graduating college, if your dad is paying all your bills and just bought you a new car, you're not at the same level as someone who maybe, isn't there. So I could see dating being difficult for her. I will say there's this interesting phenomenon to me also where young men also date older women. That's also a big thing that I don't think we talk about enough, but there's this really big like known thing where younger guys in their 20s will date like 45, 50-year-old women and they have this very weird attraction to each other. So maybe it's a thing because I don't know. It wouldn't be me, but maybe this is how she lives her best life. So go for it, girl.
I had a few old ones back in the day. If you're watching right now, hit the subscribe button and press that notification bell. Know when we go live. Great show, guys. Mr. Rippey, what's your final thoughts?
My final thought, well, first off, great show. I respect everybody. I'm going to, if I'm not following you guys, I want to make sure I follow everybody tonight. But one thing we got to do is we as minority Americans have to get out of this state of victimhood and basing most of our decisions on race. I've sponsored a lot of people from, Africa, for example, people from Ghana, people from Kenya, people from Somalia, for example. And they all say the same thing. What we go through today has nothing to do with what our ancestors went through during Jim Crow or whatever. Stop bringing up this stuff. Stop talking about it, because what they're going through is a lot worse than what we can ever imagine. And they're laughing at us. They say, just go for it. Just thrive. Stop basing every decision on race. And we need to get out of that victim mentality and just go for it.
For sure. Slim, what's your final thoughts?
Oh man, great show. Everybody turned up. I love this show. This is what we do every Monday and Wednesday. And yeah, man, I mean, it's great to see more people waking up to what's going on, with the political parties in general. It's sad to see people still be on the train, but hopefully people will start waking up. But with that being said, 85 Slim on all platforms. Boom.
Ratchet Christian, thank you for coming. What's your final thoughts?
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoy these types of conversations. I really loved how you had different perspectives represented in the chat. I love talking to people that I don't agree with, because I feel like, I'm always open to learn, always open to listen. And so having different opinions in the rooms, I feel like that is how we move forward. And that's how we all grow and come to a middle, because at the end of the day, we are all Americans. America is made up of such a variety of people. And so we have to figure out how to live with each other in peace and not just please one half of the country or the other half of the country, but how can we all, as neighbors and American citizens, get together and build a country that we can all enjoy living in. And I feel like this is how we do it. So I'm the Ratchet Christian on all platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Follow me and I'll make sure I follow you back.
For sure. Doc, what's your final thoughts?
Both parties cause inflation. Both parties are oppressing us. Both parties are not doing what's best for the American people. And Jasmine Crockett did something tonight that's been one of my biggest problems with most politicians. I think we got one clip of her saying the things she wanted to change. They never give the people how she plans to change it. Mm-hmm. And that's not just with her. That's with a lot of politicians. They tell us all these promises and what they want to do and the things that they want to see happen. I want to know, what's your plan to change that? If you get my vote, what do you plan to implement? What do you plan to do different? What do you plan to change? Don't just say, hey, I don't like the way this is going and I want to change this. Tell me you have a plan. Tell me you sat down and put some thought into this. They just give the American people these ideals that, hey, I'm going to come and change this. And that's my biggest problem with politicians. They never give us the, what's the plan? What this is, if you're going to vote for me, this is what I need you to support so that we can get it done. So it's my biggest problem, but
for sure. Skeptic, what's your final thoughts?
Yeah, great episode. I really enjoyed everybody, all the panelists. Thank you guys. Chat was crazy. You guys were saying some crazy stuff. If you saw me laughing really hard, it's probably me reading the chat because they were on some wild stuff tonight. You guys need to hit the like button and not just sit there and type the whole time, but you need to hit that heart right there in the chat. I do want to say those that don't remember the past are condemned to repeat it. So we need to continuously learn about the history, especially if you're an immigrant and you come in. I feel like this is the perfect time for you to learn Black history and to learn where it is that as an immigrant, you even have rights to speak. Because if you are an immigrant, your rights came through the civil rights movement. So through the Black community, had it not been for that, even the 14th Amendment wouldn't be applicable to you and your children. I'm all here for Jasmine Crockett. I live in Texas, so I'm so glad that she's running for the Senate. I've been a big fan of hers for a long time, so I do know that when she was in the House of Representatives, she was representing a district like in the Dallas area. She helped pass justice reform. She helped pass health care. She has already been working towards having, discriminatory laws or the practice of them not having like if you do this, you get so much sentencing, be changed here in Texas. So I really hope that she gets in there and we can make some change. Follow me on TikTok. We advocate for Black and Brown unity, for progressive ideologies, wherever they may lie. So if you like to talk about politics, we have panels and we have lives, and that's all we do all day from like 11 to around 4 p.m. I am The Skeptic or skeptic.tick on TikTok, so follow me there.
Ken, what's your final thoughts?
Man, my final thought is, man, politics is just like WWE, man. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's in character, right? A lot of these people are 1% country club individuals and they're in a character, right? So if we had a hot mic on how they really talk when they off mic, they don't talk like that, man. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of times we get caught up in the character that they're playing. Jasmine Crockett might be a little in character with the hip hop and everything, but TikTok runs the culture right now. So that's a smart lane. Just like when Trump was campaigning, he was on Sean Ryan. He was on all the podcasts, right? So this has come from strategists on how to play this game, right? So yes, they can get too much into the character, but at the end of the day, if a comet was coming to Earth, these same people that we're saying that we're critiquing, they would have first dibs on a bunker, right? So these are the elite. She's part of the elite. I guarantee she's some type of sorority or Eastern Star. You know what I'm saying? Some type of secret society, fraternity individual, right? So we make the mistake of getting caught up in the character. That is nothing but wrestling. We shouldn't pick a side.
For sure. Thank you for Ratchet Christian for coming. Thank you to the cast. We do this every Monday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back again tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with us. Have a great night. Man Cave.